Hey, it is 2021. Happy New Year. I can't tell you how excited I am that we are at the start of something fresh, something new, something hopeful. And while I am very grateful for the many, many lessons that God brought our way, literally put in our laps in 2020, I am now very much excited, even more so, for how the outworking of all those many difficult sometimes lessons that we learned will work themselves out in this year. And so, if you were with us last night, you got to participate in the burning of the pilato, which is an old Peruvian tradition that gives you an opportunity to physically get rid of those things that you don't want to carry from 2020 into 2021, the things that you have discerned by God's good wisdom that you need to let go of. And we actually physically burned them up. But now I'd like to take this opportunity, to take us all one step beyond the pilato. And that is, now that we have put off the things that we want to get rid of, it's time to now replace them by putting on the things we want to incorporate in our lives this year for 2021. So the object of this whole thing, it comes right out of Ephesians chapter 4. If you're with me, Ephesians 4:23 says to put off your old self. Put off your old self and your former way of thinking and all of that, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires. Now, why should we put away our old selves? It tells us right here in the same verse. It says to be made new in the attitude of your minds. To be made new. To renew your attitude, your way of thinking, your way of acting, your way of being. And the way that you do that, now, how is it that you can become renewed in the attitude of your mind? And that's where the second half, the part that is beyond the pilato, comes into play. And it says this: put on the new self. You put off the old self, now put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness. Now, just as we had a physical demonstration last night of the putting off of things we no longer wanted to have in our lives, things that were to be left back in the history of 2020, I'd like to do a similar thing for you today. And I'd encourage you to go right now, stop the tape, and just go and find something, scarves, jewels, whatever it is. I'm using my daughter's old toys, and I want you to get something that you can drape around yourself. Here we are. I've got, as I told you, my daughter's old toys, and several of them, because I have identified several things that are lacking in my life, several things that I know the Lord is encouraging me to change, to grow up in, even at my age, yes, to grow up in and mature in beyond where I am right now. And I want to physically remember that this is what I'm doing. I may end up putting these on every single day. So if it is that you need to put on joy, then physically put on joy. If it is that you need to embrace the peace of God in your heart, put on peace. If you need to understand on a deeper level than you ever have that whole idea of forgiveness and need to make it a heart decision, and not just a head decision, but a heart decision, then put on forgiveness and use Christ as your guide for that. Put on forgiveness. What is it that you need to embrace this year for 2021? What is it that needs to look completely different, that you're going to be giving thanks for at the end of this year when we are celebrating the coming of 2022? Those are the things that I want you to take an opportunity right now to put on. So we've already put off, but we're going to replace those things that we have put off with other things. That's how we can be certain that we see the evolution Not the New Year's resolution so much as a complete revolution in our lives for this year. And if I may share this, of course I've got a story to go with this, is that we used to have, as I grew up in New York City, this thing called the after party. If you were ever invited to something, the party part of it is where everyone gets to show up. You know, it starts at whatever hour, you show up at the party, you're at the party with everyone else. But then there was always this other thing called the after party. The after party, you'd have to be invited to, especially. Not everyone got to go to the after party. And I have to tell you, I was never, ever, ever invited to the after party. All these years later, I'm okay with that. But I have to tell you that what blew my mind completely as I considered the concept of the after party that was in my world, in my culture, in my growing up days, is what I found through a study years ago of the book of Esther. And it's in Esther chapter 8, which you are going to have to read on your own to get the full intensity of this story. But to make it quick for you, I will tell you this, that the Jews, God's chosen people, were in a position to be completely killed, annihilated, destroyed. Now those words are such strong words that none of them needs the other two to make the full picture of it, but killed, annihilated, and destroyed. And the fact that this warfare would come upon the Jews was an unchangeable thing because it had been declared, decreed, and sealed with the king's signet ring. But now the Jews have a written edict, again sealed with the signet ring of the king, that says they have permission to defend themselves, to fight back. A copy of that text of the edict was to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationality, so that the Jews would be ready on that day to avenge themselves of their enemies. That's step one. But this is the part that made me drop to my knees. And the city of Susa held a joyous celebration. Why? For the Jews, it was a time of happiness and joy, gladness and honor. In every province and in every city, wherever the edict of the king went, there was joy and gladness among the Jews, with feasting and celebrating. And many other people of other nationalities became Jews at that time because fear of the Jews had seized them. They are out partying and they've not yet fought the battle. Who on earth, think about that, who on earth starts having the party before they've even fought the war? Only the ones who are absolutely certain that they will win, that they will be victorious, because they are God's people. God has given them the victory, and they are absolutely so sure of it that their celebration comes before their battle. Forget that after party stuff. That pales in comparison to what you see here in Esther chapter 8. I'd encourage you to read that whole story, but really stop and consider what happens when you get to chapter 8 and ask yourself, what? Have they fought? Have I missed something? No. They've not fought yet. They're celebrating anyway. That's what I want you to do today with your putting on of whatever it is that you have put on for 2021 in replacement of what you have put off from 2020. I want you every single day, and I'm going to be doing this right along with you. Please know that every single day, be thanking God for the victory that He has already given you. Though you may not yet see it, you may not have seen it yet on any given day that you're giving thanks, but you're going to be sure, because the things that you are prayerfully asking for are the very things God has promised to give you. I'm looking forward to 2021, and I hope you are too. Happy New Year.